Okay, I think we'll get started. I'm recording the session just for in case somebody didn't make it today. But if possible, turn on your camera because we'd love to see faces. Also, you're going to need to know each other pretty quickly. So if you can at least start to recognize who your team is, that will be awesome as well. So thank you everybody for fitting this in. We have to do our startup meeting now since it will start pretty quickly for Math CS Lab and Interim. We'll start on the very first day of classes. We will be providing some help for those of you who are new, so you can get into that. But otherwise, this is our meeting for kind of sharing what the details will be for this time around in the Math CS Lab. So we'll be using the meeting notes that are linked from the calendar invite, and I'll just chat them right now too, if you don't have those open. And I'm going to go right to that. And just for kicks, raise up your physical hand if you are an intro to programming tutor. Okay, good. If you're a creative problem solving tutor, raise up your hand. Here I should see like every single one of you raising your hand. You all can be creative problem solving tutors. This is something that's kind of changed over the years since we've had the COVID years, is that everybody's gotten kind of compartmentalized. We're kind of opening that up more and more, and this will feel like the most opening up this time because some of you who have, for example, only been CS Lab over Interim, we've been traditionally combined as Math CS Lab. And that means that we've even crossed the borders of who can help with what. So some of you who are only in Math Lab, never been in CS Lab, you may help with intro students. And some of you who are in CS Lab, if there's nobody there that night for CS Lab, you could help with creative problem solving students. So that's one thing that I like to kind of help people understand. How many people can help with BizCalc? Okay, good chunk of you. And again, if you're unsure of that course, if you're comfortable with Calc 1, basically, they have a little bit of Calc 2, you're able to help with that course as well. And then the last group, the stats group, raise your hand. And for that, you've either had StatNL or Prob and Stats, or sometimes we've just had people who've had AP Stats in the background, can help with that course as well. So good. I think I'm going to go towards just sharing the screen with the notes, and we'll work through those pretty quickly now. So our opening date, as I said, will be right away on the first day of classes. So we'll need to be ready to go. If you have questions before then, let us know, because we'll want you able to start right away. The schedule, you hopefully saw when you did the survey, but maybe take a peek at that one more time to make sure that you have times that you truly can work. And then also, if you scroll down to the bottom of that schedule, you're going to see that there are also listings of all the personnel. We use this version of the schedule just for the tutors, so we won't be putting out all your phone and other information to students. They'll have a minimized version of the schedule. I don't know if that's done yet, Anna. Oh, it looks like it's done. That just has first names, for example, and doesn't have any of that personnel information. So this is more for tutors, for all of you to be able to connect with one another and make sure that you've got contact information if you need to get a hold of someone. Then as long as we're looking at this, just check your PO and phone and email and the courses that you're able to tutor in. And like I said, we could almost take all these programming people and put creative problem solving there too. So you'll act like that. Lab or both over Interim, there really isn't much of individual tutoring, but we get your preference here. There's an occasional use. Since Interim goes so quickly, the Ask Office really shies away from making any link ups over Interim. So this will be very minimally used, but make sure that your preference is correct here. Lab is that you only work in lab. B is that you would do both individual tutoring and lab tutoring. And then off-campus tutoring, Anna was working through that this morning. Is that up to date yet, Anna?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, so we've got a couple people that have said that they're able to do off-campus tutoring. So we'll survey you for which courses and things like that for that. Then the new people, we recognize you as well. You'll get a quick intro to that, but we've tried to make a time on the first day of classes where we will also train you in on some of the logistics of what's going on. So anybody see, I guess, speak up right now if you see any problems with the schedule. You can kind of look at this week here as kind of a full week to show most of the times that people are scheduled. You all can kind of be aware that we'll kind of beef up the intro to programming scheduling at the end of the month, because we have seen from past usage that the intro students come at the end when they're working on their final project. So we've really got a nice case this year with both Jade and Ben being in class TAs for that class too. So they're going to come and help support us at the end and beef up our staffing at the end of the semester. But I guess everybody here kind of look at this week in particular. That's kind of a full week, and make sure that the times that are listed really work for you. Otherwise, speak up now or we'll pronounce it final. Okay, so courses, we kind of talked through these with the introduction, that those will be the courses that we're serving. And just so that you're not afraid of creative problem solving, we've heard from the past that tutors say that they're even easier than Math for 21st Century students to help, because it truly is a problem solving course. And so you should feel ready to help in with that. Rooms, we have all of these rooms reserved. So just recognize that we have that ability to use all those spaces if needed. Last year, kind of we were more split up into different locations. This year, we plan to just be starting with HC 113 and have everybody in that room. This will help us, and we've kind of started to do this in Math Lab this semester, with being able to serve different students. For example, there's some Math Lab type tutors that are able to help with intro students, and intro students or intro tutors, like we said, you may be able to help with creative problem solving or other people. So it kind of optimizes our services if we can work that way. However, we hold that loosely. If we all of a sudden see, wow, we're always getting this big group of a certain class, we're able to pull that off if it works better to go to a different room with a tutor. So just recognize that we can have all three of those rooms in our back pocket, but we're going to start with 113 just to see that we optimize our use of tutors, and then we'll kind of change from there. One thing that we're just kind of quickly throwing all this together, as you know, everybody's busy at this time of the semester, so we haven't quite gotten this far yet with the managers, but we will get to a point. I just want you to be aware that this part will happen. We will want to make sure that you're paying attention to where you are located and where students are directed to be. We want to group students. So I'll be talking with the managers this afternoon. We'll get this in shape and we'll let you know. But we usually either have a room map that kind of tells you, oh, this half of the room is going to always be for stats, or this area is always going to be for creative problem solving. What that does is it helps students get into the habit as well. They can come and group themselves. So we'll have only certain tables that are dedicated to certain classes, so that you know where you should hang out to if you're more focused on that class. And then students through all of the nights will know that they can always go to this common spot and be able to get help for their course. So watch for some more direction with that, but you'll either have room maps or signs. And I don't know if you have a feeling yet about what you'd want to do there, so they know what to anticipate, or we can get back to them later too if you don't have that in your mind yet.
I'm guessing we'll have like room maps or like table maps similar to what we had for this year, and then we'll have signs to put up on each table as well.
Okay, good. But that just helps with students. Some students are really anxious to come into the lab, so kind of if they know even where to go, it helps with that as well. And then it helps students to be working with one another also. So we really want you to stick with whatever format we use there. Then this is what, if you were here at the beginning, I was kind of talking quick with Julia about our tutoring format. we've kind of gone back and forth with, what's best, is face-to-face or online, or what kind of components do we want to give to everybody? There's pros and cons with both of those. I think tutors really enjoy working face-to-face with students. And I think students have come to really appreciate that as well. So we've moved more to that model in Math Lab this fall. We've stayed with online for CS, but we've kind of thought, it'd be kind of nice if we get to some face-to-face as well. It helps you to kind of be able to manage a room better. Instead of breakout rooms, you can physically see them. You can kind of understand when people need help and things like that. So we're going to try this out with our complete schedule just to simplify it, that the first hour will be face-to-face, and then we'll add on or make it hybrid, is how we've talked about it, for the last half hour, a hybrid format where that online is available. We'll also be kind of encouraging, I need to make a note, encourage students to come in the first 15 minutes. This is another thing that we've tried to do sometimes in the past. And I'll let the profs know about that they should try to encourage students to come at the beginning that are coming face-to-face. That way, most of the face-to-face questions will be hopefully done within that first hour. And so then you can be more dedicated to those online students for that last half hour and not have to be kind of working in both of those environments. So that's kind of our first stab at how we think that would work. Does anybody have any feedback in particular if you've worked with CS in the past? Because that's the biggest change. I guess those students are kind of our biggest change. We have had this kind of format in Math Lab previously. So I'll pick on you, Julia. Are you, I think you said you were kind of okay with starting there, and we'll see how things go.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. And we've even talked about how you could even use Zoom in the face-to-face session if you wanted to, so that you could use the sharing of screens and things like that if you needed to, or if there was a student that wanted to kind of be more separated and not so close, they could use that format.
Yeah, and I think that could especially be helpful for when it is hybrid. So then just people in person and then online can see, oh, there are other people here. So that's why it's taking longer.
Good idea. Okay. So I just really want to encourage all of you to give us feedback about that. If things aren't working, both with the rooms and the format, let us know right away. Interim moves so quickly that we have to make changes quickly as well. So speak up if something doesn't seem to be working and we should modify it, and we'll be happy to try to do that. So here's the course information. The courses that are served, the times that they are meeting, and I believe this was a little bit ago that we captured the numbers of students in that, but it wasn't too long ago, maybe about a week ago. So those numbers are probably fairly close to where the class sizes are at. So it's kind of nice. There's no 35s in there. It'll be a fairly small group. So you should be able to do a lot of one-on-one tutoring with these students and be able to help them individually. So it should be nice in that way. We would like to try, I know in the past we've sometimes used videos. We wanted to simplify that a little bit and just do some, and it's kind of nice to get a real live person coming to the class. That could either be in person or possibly over Zoom, but I believe all of these are in person except for business calc. So we're looking for volunteers who would like to go into classes. So this would mean that you don't have a class during the time that this is given. So intro to programming, somebody who could come in the afternoon, create problem solving and stats. If there are volunteers, if you tutor in that class, or maybe you're a TA for the class, then for sure that'd be a good thing to do. But if you are interested in any of those possibilities, why don't you put it in the chat now? Otherwise, we will start reaching out to you to see if you can do it. So is there anyone who's interested? because otherwise, Anna, maybe you can start to put in the chat who you think might be good for some of those. Would that work? And then they can check to see if they're available.
Yeah, I'll start direct messaging some people and asking them, and then you can just let me know either way, and that'll be good.
Perfect. And then you can fill in if we get a person who wants to do it. So direct message Anna now if you like, no, I would like to do this and I'm available. Otherwise, she'll work on that through the meeting. Okay, lead tutors, note that you do have a lead tutor. The lead tutor, for those of you who are new to math and CS Lab, are the person who's kind of in charge, and they're experienced tutors. So they're a good resource for you to use. If you look at the schedule again, they're the first one listed or listed in gray. So they'll be the person responsible for setting everything up. They're the person that you would notify if you needed to get a sub, to let them know which sub you got, so they're aware of any changes that happened. And they're just somebody that you can use as a resource as well for any help. Attendance, I always throw this in here just because it's interesting. Math Labs run for 18 years. In Interim, we didn't start it up right away at the beginning. That was something we added on later on. We should have a party. All you Math Lab managers remind me of this. We're 30 years old this spring. So for Math Lab, we had a 20 or 25-year-old party, cake and stuff like that. So we'll have to do that. 22nd year of CS Lab, but Math CS Lab has been around for 18 years. So you can look at these numbers and it just shows that it can be really variable. The last number, the 128, is what we had last year. So you can see over the last 3 years that it's been, somewhere around 150 contacts that we've had. So you'll have people that you'll serve, but notice we've had busier years as well. So it does go up and down. So we do our best to anticipate staffing plans. But again, like I said previously, Interim goes so quickly. So please react quickly, be making comments in the session notes to let us know if you feel like it's either inadequately staffed or you have staffs that are twiddling their thumbs and could be used somewhere else. Let us know those things, because we just do our best to try to anticipate what the needs are. That always varies depending on prof or depending on the course or depending on the particular student class. So we just try to anticipate the needs and do our staffing as best as we can. Okay, training notes, the managers too. So just like lead tutors are some people for you to get to know in particular for your session. Managers are some people that are a resource as well. If you ever see any of the materials that aren't in good shape, if you can't find an answer key, if your name tag falls apart, whatever, any of the materials and things like that, these are the students that you can reach out to for help with that. We also do have a math lab. It should be called Math CS Lab because we use it for both session checklist. If you're new to tutoring, you might look through some of this to see how things kind of generally go. Like you can kind of just read through this one time to see how things go. It's got a lot of detail as well. So the first part is just kind of how we go through a session. And then there's some details about Zoom as well. If you're new to tutoring, this is a document that you can look over, but then do note that at the bottom here for new tutors, we do have this logistical training that we'll have on the very first day. The managers are going to be running that, and they'll help lead you through some of those logistics so that that checklist isn't overwhelming, and that you can recognize how to come and sign in, how to work with a Zoom session and things like that. But this is just a resource you might want to bookmark that has some links and things that you would use. Sign in, come in early, help to set up. There's a lot to set up at the beginning, so help your lead tutor with that. And then more details again will be given to you later if you're a new tutor. One problem we've had this semester that I've never had before is just that tutors have been signing up in the student area. So just make sure that you know where to log in as a tutor and that you're not recording your attendance as a student. So pay attention to that. Then you'll all have name tags, which is new if you're a CS person, because you haven't been in person for quite a while. But you'll have a name tag, so put that on. That denotes that you're a tutor, so students don't feel awkward in reaching out to you. So make sure you wear your name tag. First few days are incredibly important. That's when you want to be on your A game. It's kind of sad because that's when you're new, some of you, but just the being overly friendly, helping students to find their way, helping them to sign in, helping them to connect with other students and to connect with you is super important at the beginning, because that's how we can best advertise. Those students go back to their class and say, oh, I had a really good experience in Math CS Lab, or wow, the tutors there were very helpful, or that was a great place to do my homework, or things like that. So try to really focus on those first days. Also, some of the profs give extra credit to kind of bribe them to get in there during the first week. And so that's another reason why some of those people are only coming for extra credit. And what we found is that they actually then find it's a good experience and stay. So they're kind of testing the waters themselves then as well. So try to be overly helpful and working to do a really good job in those first times. We sometimes add an extra person. So this is another place to direct message Anna. If you are available and you don't work that first night, notice on the schedule, we have extra sign-in help with a question mark there. So if you don't work that night and you could come and just stand there and help with sign-in that first night, let Anna know and she'll add you to the schedule there. That's just kind of a nice thing when people are coming for the first time. Most of these students are in introductory classes, so they've never experienced math or CS Lab. And it will be new for any CS students to do that sign-in as well. So we'd love to fill that spot. So if you're not working and are available, let Anna know about that as well. Ending times, try to make your records of the sessions as complete as possible. Leads, you're all experienced, so you know about this, but make sure you put a lot of notes at the end, and you edit your sessions for any student information that's not complete. Comments regarding the session. At the end of the session, we like to give comments in 2 different ways. The first session comments come to me. Those will appear in the record of the session. The lead tutor will be recording those, but all of you as tutors can be working with the leads to let them know little things that you want to say about your particular area and the students that you worked with. If there's any materials needs, that's another good place to report that. But these are just kind of general things about how it went. If you can even give me a feel for how the night went, sometimes I'll see like 10 students recorded and the lead tutor says, we had a great night in math lab and everything went well and everybody was served well. And another night we can have 7 students and the tutors say, it was crazy busy tonight because, of this, so you need to give me a feel. I can't always tell by numbers how the session went. So give me some feel for how things are going and how the staffing is working out in particular. Then if you have any comments specific to a course, like we saw an error in the answer key. I've just seen this last night in some of the comments. You can put it in those main session notes, but make sure that you are also sending these things directly to the prof. So anything that has to do with the course, email them directly. You can CC me just so I'm aware that you took care of that, but make sure that you send any course specific comments to the prof. Some of the profs read the session comments, so some of them get those emails delivered just like I do when the session closes, but others do not. So it's just best to email the prof directly if you see any issues. Those emails are great as well if you have any just general comments to profs, like everybody seemed to be struggling with this topic. That's just useful for a prof to know as well, because they can keep tabs with how things are going. Answer keys. Notice that physical copies of answer keys will be available. Answer keys, we want to make sure don't walk out of the lab. We've had that happen before once when one disappeared the very first semester of math lab. And then other times they've disappeared, but it's been a tutor that has like accidentally brought it home with them. So we haven't lost an answer key. We want to keep it that way. So answer keys, we kind of have the protocol of it's either in your arm, so physically in your arm, or it's back in the cabinet safely put away. So never leave an answer key sitting out on a table, or never let another student look at an answer key. So make sure that you're using that protocol. Electronic answer keys are found in course folders. So this link, I don't know if Anna, you've got that set up yet, but eventually everybody will, you do have it set up? Do you have it set up?
Oh, sorry, maybe I don't think I have it shared yet.
Okay, yeah.
I've
So
started setting it up.
Great. So she's setting that up and getting everything available from the profs there. So they'll be able to write there. And then she will add sharing privileges for you. So this is why your course listing is so important. So Anna, I would just say creative problem solving, make that one available. Make that one available just to everybody. So everybody could read the creative problem solving folder, but other folders will be set up just for the courses that you tutor. Password is, I don't know why we have that blank. Is it to be determined, or is it still Purple Monkey? Do you know, Anna?
I think it's still been that, but we'll have to check with Dr. Gang when he encrypts the answer keys for the semester.
Okay. So all of the answer keys are encrypted so that they just can't be sitting there open, and also just to remind you to treat them carefully. So Purple Monkey, all lowercase and concatenated together, has been the past password for that. We'll let you know if that changes, but Purple Monkey has been the past one that has been used for that. Calculator, or sorry, let's see. Oh yeah, BizCalc. BizCalc is a weird answer key in course because it uses an online homework generator. And so every single student gets a different problem. And so the answer keys, just be aware that the answer keys are going to give you a problem answer that it, how does that work, Anna? Does it give you the problem and the answer? Do you know, or is it just like an answer? Because I know it's a similar problem, but then everybody gets like the numbers are changed a little bit on that same type of problem.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how it works. I'm guessing that it's you would get a similar problem and then you'd get the answers for one type of those problems, but not for the particular problem that each student is working on.
Okay. And we have electronic access for that. So those will be in that course folder as well. So you can go in and look at that course folder if you work with that course later on after. Anna will give an announcement to everybody when those folders are ready, but they'll for sure be ready by the first day that we open up. But she'll let you know, and then you can go in there and check that out to make sure that you'll be able to use that if needed. Then just be aware that within those folders, there's, maybe we should go in there. Have you set it up far enough, Anna, that they have some structure at least? Okay, good. So like stats. So notice that there's, that one doesn't have anything yet, but okay. So nothing in there yet, but there'll be sometimes links to an electronic version of the textbook is there. And then the links to the textbook answer key will be in this other one. And then additional answer keys, that's the folder where the profs can just throw some, if they have like a project or they have something that they made up on their own, they're able to throw it into that folder and you can access that there. So kind of learn your way around those electronic folders so that you're able to use those resources when you work with students. Anything else I missed, Anna, or is that good to cover with answer keys?
Yeah, I think that's all they need to know for now.
Okay. Calculators and laptops, we used to have these available and now we again have this available. If a student needs a calculator or a laptop, they'll be able to check those out. In the cabinet, on the door of the cabinet, there's going to be little slots where if a student needs to use a laptop or a calculator, they just need to give you their ID and you put it in the slot that corresponds with the number of the calculator or laptop. So we'll be starting that up again for interims for students to use that. Trouble, questions, ideas, again, put those in the comments of your session, but also feel free to email me at any time if you notice anything that's not working smoothly or you have ideas for a change. Speak up right away so that we can make some of those changes and get the word out to students. Another thing to just be aware of is that we have a dates and meeting tab on the schedule. And this just lists if you ever wanted to know anything about our breaks. So for example, around Martin Luther King Day, we have our last session on Thursday, then we're closed over the weekend and we reopen on Tuesday. And then here's a listing of all of our meetings that I'll talk through in a minute. And then here's when we open and close as well. So all of the dates, if you ever need any of that information to understand when you'll be working and when you're required to have meetings, that's all in that dates and meetings tab of the schedule. Individual tutoring, I mentioned this up above that we generally don't offer that over interim, but there will be some cases. So just keep that in mind as well. I know sometimes we've told you that if a student seems to be struggling, needing extra help, that will often tell tutors to recommend that they go to the Ask office. That's not as heavily used over interim, so that's not really the recommendation over interim. If it was a severe case or something came up, I'm sure they would try to deal with someone who had an illness or things like that. But generally, there's not much with individual tutoring over interim. And we already mentioned the piece about off-campus tutoring. If you're not understanding what off-campus tutoring is, it often doesn't occur off-campus. It's just the off-campus student. So it's often high school students that would like tutoring. That can be sometimes done over Zoom, or they can come to Bethel's campus. But it's usually a pretty lucrative job if you're interested in making some money. It's usually a pretty high paying job to work with students that are often high schoolers and sometimes middle school or others. Then some notes for new tutors. You should have an Ask contract. If not, Vicki is your point person for that in the Ask office. This training that you're doing right now, all of you can record on your timesheet. And if you don't have a timesheet, jot it down so that you can record it because you're paid for this training and any other trainings that you take part in. So make sure that you record those on your Ask timesheet. If you're a TA and a tutor, make sure that you're keeping those things straight and separate. So for example, those intro TAs, put your in-class stuff on your math department contract, and then put your tutoring under the Ask timesheet and make sure you're keeping those separate. Those of you who are new will do that logistical training. So you'll kind of come to Math Lab, be able to see what it's like. They'll have a mock session for you there so that you can kind of walk through what some of the procedures are before you have to be on the job. Some of you starting right away that night. Those of you who are new to tutoring for math and CS, you also have an additional meeting on Thursday of that first week of classes, and you've already been sent a calendar invite for that. Let me know if you didn't receive that. And then the last piece, I tried to find out from Vicki what they want to do with you all, but she hasn't responded yet to me. So we'll let you know about the Ask General training. Again, that's paid as well. It will either probably be online. They'll send you some information on how to do that, or they'll just group you in with the spring tutors and assume that my training will be enough to get you up to speed. So that kind of, oh, maybe just the last part here. Here's just some information too, if you need to get a hold of any of those people. My contact information is listed there. Vicki's in Ask for any pay questions that you have or Ask training, and then the profs as well. I don't know why we didn't have emails there, but you'll have the emails are listed when you close a session. So when you close a session, their emails are listed. So you can contact them or just use the Google email to help you contact those as well. So anything I missed, Anna or managers? Okay. Any questions from anyone? And or it can, and any comments from anyone else that's tutored previously that you think is helpful. Okay. If you have other questions that come up later on, shoot me an email. And then again, like I said, over interim, make sure that you're letting me know if you have questions or ways that we can improve things. And those of you who are new, we'll get you up to speed on that first day, but then note that you still might feel overwhelmed after that first initial training. So feel free to ask your lead tutor questions, and they'll help to get you up to speed with all the protocols and ways that this all works. Well, great. I think we'll end it there then. And thank you so much. We're glad to have a great team and to have us fully staffed for interim, and look forward to seeing you help a lot of students coming up over that month. So thanks so much. Have a good rest of the day. Bye.